What if I told you there is a way to draft cosplay patterns that doesn't involve duct tape? Welcome to Cosplayland, I am Alice, and today I'm going to show you how to draft a pattern on a mannequin. And you will be wondering, what's my experience on drafting patterns on mannequins? Exactly, I've never done it before because I'm the kind of person that will just use a ruler and do every single pattern using the maths methods. But today I'm going to be attempting to draft on my mannequin because honestly this is kind of like more difficult costume and I can't really do it with maths without having to do a lot of alterations. So I thought that because I have here my friend, she could be helping me today, and I'm just going to be showing you the process and what I think is the correct way of doing it, but I actually have no idea of what I'm doing, to be honest. Some important things that you need to know about drafting patterns on mannequins is that not every single mannequin will work. Actually, I have a collection of mannequins that I have shown you before, and you will need a special mannequin that can be pinned and it's more or less your size in order to be able to do this correctly. Otherwise, if the mannequin is not exactly your shape or it's too far off from your actual shape, you're gonna have issues and it's not gonna look as good as you would expect. The reason why I don't have a lot of experience using mannequins for draping is because I've never been able to afford a professional mannequin that was my size. Up until now I was using like very cheap second-hand mannequins, and those were not great for drafting, and even if I was able to do a few things, they were never exactly how I wanted and spent too long adapting them and modifying them, and I always ended up going back to the maths way of doing it because maths solves everything. Of course, the second thing that you will need is lots of pins because we are gonna be pinning our fabric to the mannequin. You will be needing some fabric as well. I'm going to be making a very fitted garment that needs a lot of structure. It's almost like a corset, but not quite. So I need a fabric which is as sturdy as my final material. You can use any fabrics, any sheets you have at home. It doesn't need to be something new. You can just be reusing some fabric from an old project, but just make sure that the fabric you are using is similar to the final one that you will be using in the pattern. Of course, you need sharp scissors to cut the fabric, a pencil to draw everything. You can use pens as well, but I don't want to risk it with my nice mannequin, so pencil it is for me. Some tape to just draw the design on your mannequin before you actually cut the fabric pieces, and honestly I should be using special tape for mannequins and for draping, but I don't have any and I don't want to go looking for it, so this is gonna be just normal masking tape, just a very thin one that I found, and it's just like around in my stash, so hopefully this will work. And finally, you will need your reference pictures of what you are actually attempting to do. In my case, I'm going to be trying to do this Tifa bumblebee suit from the Honeybee Inn. It's actually kind of like a fan art because she doesn't really wear it on the game, but I thought it would be very interesting and I'm just looking forward to do it. So let's start. The first thing you want to do is use your masking tape to just find the general shape of what you actually want to draw and what your pattern needs to be in the end. So that's going to be the first step. It's okay if you don't get it right because this is very easy to reposition, so just play around with it, and I'm just gonna spend as long as it takes to get the first shapes of my mannequin. of course, when I finished with the live, I went ahead and just repositioned all the tape on it to make it look more like the reference pictures. These are the lines of the shape I'm trying to make with this pattern. The next step is going to be grabbing a piece of fabric, and I'm gonna trace all those lines on my fabric. And you want to make sure that you are placing your fabric on the grain so you are doing it correctly, because if you place it on the wrong side, it's gonna be doing some weird stuff to the pattern that we want to avoid. So I'm just going to be placing this here and use my pins to get those lines in place. Once you're happy with the piece you're making, you can just like cut the excess of fabric like that, just to make sure the fabric is not pulling in a weird place and it's easier to handle the fabric. But just make sure that you're still leaving some space around it first, because if you want to use this later as a piece to sew, you're going to need the seam allowances. But also because there's a chance that you will want to move these pieces a little bit and you don't want to make them too short, so you can just modify them. So yeah, I'm just going to be repeating this step for every single piece and see what we get. Once you've traced all your pieces, you're gonna get something like this. And yes, I know it's a little bit of a Frankenstein thing going on right now. That's because I haven't adjusted any of the pieces, and I'm just going to be testing that this actually works, because that it works on my mannequin doesn't mean that it's gonna work on my body. So the next thing to do is actually take off all these pieces and make sure that they are gonna fit, and do an actual mock-up of how it's going to be looking. So let's do that next. I have the pattern now. I know it doesn't look like much, but now it is time to see if it still fits once I have already sewn it. So pin it again. And you must be thinking, that's great, it fits, it's perfect, but in my head as a pattern maker, I can see all the little issues with it. For example, I put the notches on the wrong place here on the side, so I'm just gonna have to move the notches here so to make the pattern worse, otherwise it's gaping over there. There's a little bit of gaping over here that I can correct a little bit as well. So now it is time just to tweak a little bit this pattern, which is still not the last one, because the next step is to actually make a pattern to try it on and see if it fits my body. This is still just the mock-up. And of course, using the rulers again to make sure everything is correct. And the next part is to destroy all your work, because you're gonna have to rip apart all those seams yet again. The good news is that if you are making a pattern for yourself, that's it, you've got a pattern. You can actually use this as your pattern for your nice fabric. However, I don't make patterns for myself, I do patterns for you, so there is still a bit of work left on my part to do. Like with all my other patterns, I will be digitizing and just making new files digitally, so I can actually resize this for several sizes and you can download my patterns without having to do all the pattern making yourself. I actually wanted to show you how I did it. Unfortunately, this week has been a little bit stressful because my laptop decided to stop working and I had to cut this video short. I will carry on soon, but on the meantime, here's a katana to kiss you goodbye. See you in the next adventure. Bye!